As we are into picks and bans for the final game of the week. It is Azir and Lissandra, two flex picks off of the table.
Expecting a Cassio ban, yeah, there it is. Cassio, you have to ban it because I don't think Corey is necessarily a Cassio player, and you don't really want to sacrifice your first pick on that, and then Power of Evil will gladly just pick it up. So our ban coming out from MYM. Two, there's a lot of stuff on the table still. Is this Nidalee ban coming out from UOL, or are they just gonna say like, Horo, I want to see your Nidalee, and worst case we'll get something better for that?
Well, it was Kikis that debuted Nidalee last week, in fact.
Exactly, that's why it might stay open here.
Well, we'll see. MeetYourMakers, they've got to decide what do they want. Ahri is up, LeBlanc is up.
Yeah, I think they trade Ahri for the Nidalee. So they say like, okay, we ban Kassadin, and it says like, okay, if you don't pick Ahri right here, we're gonna take it away from you. And then Unicorns will have Emilia. They want the Nidalee. You don't want to leave that up. Safe top laner pick. You know, you can lane swap, you can lane it, and we'll see from there. So I imagine Power of Evil has something up his sleeve for the Ahri pick that he can deal with in lane. That's left. Maybe just sitting back with Xerath or something. Well,
you've got some options. If he wants to farm, he can go that route. If he wants to go aggressive, there's a few assassins left to play with. Unicorns of Love and MeetYourMakers with a much faster pick and ban than we're used to seeing. You have to feel that the prediction and the planning ahead of time, no real curveballs, so no additional discussion required here.
Yeah, again, I don't like the hover though. Just keep that champion away. Don't give the enemy time to think about the composition. Rengar hover with Lee Sin open. Okay, I was almost ready to get the legendary top lane Rengar from Mimer from back in the day, but it's not gonna happen. So Lee Sin over Rengar. Graves here for MYM. Definitely solid lane champion. You can pair Graves with any support into any matchup and you can still do well. Unicorns of Love countering with Caitlyn Morgana. So they basically want to say, okay, we're going to lane your Graves, we're going to outrange you, and basically poke you down and try and neutralize that threat.
Well, a lot of tower pushing power on the side of the Unicorns of Love if they want to go that route. Did a great job yesterday against Roccat in that regard, but you can see Flash and Ghost on Power of Evil, so maybe mid lane Morgana wouldn't be unheard of.
Yeah, but I really think MYM has to start looking at a lane swap right now, because if they keep the game in mind from yesterday, what's going to happen is Caitlyn Morgana will push up bot lane, go for their snare trap combinations. At the same time, Kikis will literally just invade the enemy jungle and try and kill somebody. We saw even Airwax do it on Nidalee too, and I hope MYM realizes this and goes for the lane swap.
Let's see if they decide to do that. Ghost Flash could also be used with a Twisted Fate, something Power of Evil has played in the challenger scene. We'll see what he decides to lock in as that final champion. 5 seconds left for MeetYourMakers. They have a lot of pick and burst potential. No hard CC here.
Complex.
Very similar to what Fnatic was running in their previous matchup, and not going to work out. We'll get to that in a second, because that's a Cogmore insta-lock.
And this is actually, I think we can tell everybody now, UOL yesterday did not want to play their composition, but they wanted AP Cogmore in the middle, but because Roccat took it away and lane with it, they actually had to resort to, I think, was the Cassiopeia there. But definitely, AP Cogmore is something they have been practicing a lot. He feels confident in it. And this almost takes me back to my days in CLG EU, where Froggen was the original OG European Cogmore sniper. And my job really was backing him up and say, Froggen, you're aiming 3 screens ahead. You're almost walking into an enemy. Please watch your champion again, because that is the range of AP Cogmore, and it's absolutely disgusting in a basically siege composition. So if MYM get locked down without hard CC, they're going to suffer on those sieges.
Well, we'll see. One Dark Binding or one Maokai route. Caitlyn plus Cogmore.
Plus Trap, plus Nidalee Spear, Nidalee follow-up. Knock from the Maokai. That guy's gone.
So that's it. We've seen a sniper composition put on the table from the Unicorns of Love. And we'll have to see if MeetYourMakers can come out of this laning phase even or ahead, because if they don't, it's scary.
And Fnatic, they had the advantage that their main engage component was Rengar, and he's invisible. Basically, what this means is Horo will have to be as invisible as he can on Lee Sin and sneak around people and try and insect them into the team, because other than that, they really have little engage. Ahri can charm, and Rumble can slow them down to land that charm easier, but other than that, it's going to be incredibly hard for MYM to engage unless they get really far ahead and they can push that advantage.
Well, everybody at home, you've heard Crepo talk about the team comps. Is it MeetYourMakers or the Unicorns of Love that you feel will be coming out ahead? Hit us up on Twitter. Unicorns pulling out a new strategically diverse team comp, but I do like the addition of that Maokai with all of the range they've got to back it up. That is a great group.
It is really good disengage, and basically it means it sends in Maokai as a sacrificial lamb. He pops his ulti, people do less damage against you, and worst case you can black shield and him, he can survive for days. Even if you have to sack him, you kite backwards. UOL wants to siege and poke, or kite backwards in fights. MYM kind of wants to blow those ultis and kind of hard engage, but they have a disengage in Janna, which is going to be useless, because Monsoon is not going to stop projectiles from flying in your face, so it's going to be incredibly tricky here.
Yeah, and of course, if MYM are using all their cooldowns and spells and Vizichachi, Unicorns are going to be extremely happy with that particular strat. So, let's see how the lane swap plays out. You did talk about it fairly early on in Picks and Bans. With that Cogmore, are you still expecting the same?
Yeah, but I don't think when it comes out, I don't know if UOL is calling the prediction swap. The beauty of Caitlyn is, though, it lanes pretty strong against this lane, and if not, it can take towers down really quickly. The only question mark I have is that I don't know, out of my own knowledge, is how well Nidalee duels Lee Sin in the jungle. Because if Lee Sin is a pretty good duelist, especially if he gets the red smite item, and then he can definitely start dueling Nidalee down, and then if she doesn't get that advantage, she can't show up from behind the lanes, you know? But it doesn't look like UOL is initiating a lane swap here.
Well, we'll have to see how they decide to play that one out. What we do know from Kikis' Nidalee is when he ran it last week in week 3, he managed to pick up first blood very, very quickly and very early on against Lulex, managing to punish them. So we'll see if he can do that same level of early game pressure and if he can catch Horo out. I think it comes down to the surprise factor. So land that hunted and get the damage.
Rawless and Nisbeth here with the Ignite on Janna. They're doing a camp early. End up abandoning that camp even then to try and punish. Yeah, Nisbeth's moving up this check if the blue buff's being done here. So I don't think he can stop him. This means a potential 3 buff from UOL. Potentially if MYM were to start at the red side, but MYM starting at the blue side, so everything is bang on even here. But let's see if this works. MYM call off guard here. I think they expected a 2v2 lane.
So it did not manage to work out for them. Corey's going to sidestep the Dark Binding thanks to the movement speed buff on that Orb of Deception. And Corey going back to a tried and true champion. He's played an exceptional amount of Ahri in the course of last year and this year. He picked Jace into Xerath yesterday. Did well enough. Had a decent individual performance, but unfortunately those botched tower dives that DeFisher was talking about cost MeetYourMakers against Fnatic. Let's see how the early game plays out. No more engaged tower diving champions for Nisbeth.
So yeah, MYM is basically being frozen in the top lane. So Caitlyn is not taking towers immediately. She's letting the lane push back, and they're putting Hylissang on a roam. Nidalee's not really invading anybody, so she can't really catch anybody off guard. I think this is a decent start for MYM. I would like them to see the push the bottom lane in quicker, because now they have the risk of not being able to pull off the 4-man dive. We see Hylissang coming down with his top laner, Vizichachi. They're going to soak up this experience. This wave should have been in 2 waves ago and bounce back to match the freeze, because Vizichachi is going to get a lot of experience here, absolutely for free.
So, very wise play from UOL, managing to punish the slower play of MeetYourMakers. We do see Mima has been holding Horo's hand. They did a full clear together. So, Mima's going to return to this top lane just shy of level 3. And he does burn his teleport. So, Vizichachi in lane, getting a small advantage from the lane creeps, while Kikis is getting control of the crabs.
Good crab by Kikis, because this pretty much puts Vardak safe. He's freezing, and he can start blowing the Rumble. Later we'll see whether he's being successful in zoning out the Rumble or not. The left side of the map is pretty much covered in wards. Should keep Vardak safe. This allows Kikis to start looking at the right side of the map, possibly even starting to look for Lee Sin in the enemy jungle.
Well, let's see how Kikis plays that one out, if he wants to play aggressive or not. This time around didn't go in. Power of Evil slightly ahead of Corey and using that Caustic Spittle and Void Ooze to put damage down.
Vardax broke the freeze on top lane, so he's definitely pushing out. UOL's pushing out on bottom already now, but here's Kiki's coming behind Corey.
Let's look for the Javelin Toss. Does it connect? The answer is no. Swaps to Cougar form, pounces in. Flash away from Corey. Summon spell burned. Successful gank.
So they're basically turning these triple freezes on in a triple push. They burned the summoner from Corey in the mid lane. Crowd's going wild for these absolutely fantastic plays. But basically they're putting pressure on triple point at the same time in the map. This could allow for Kikis to move between those lanes into the enemy jungle. Let's see if he does that.
So a lot of mobility. Part of the reasons that Nidalee is so favored. Lots of burst damage, lots of hop, skips, and jumps. Horo's going to get control of the crab on the bottom half.
Or gets jumped out pretty badly here.
A lot of damage. No level 6 yet for Power of Evil. So
Horo's going bottom though.
Connect. Let's see what Horo can do. That's a flash forward from him. He's going to get the Tempest and the cripple down. Hylissang reply flash. Now Vizichachi puts a smash down on the ground. But Horo gets damage and a support flash
for his own flash. So that's definitely a net win for UOL here, because they poke down Corey. Mid lane, Kog'Maw still has double defensive summoners. He won that trade. They got some damage on the mid tower. Horror didn't really get a gank off early, and Lee Sin kind of has to snowball. We see less and less Lee Sins over time because it seems incredibly hard for any Lee Sin to really make a big impact early, and then other junglers just have more damage or more utility as the game goes on.
So, Horror under pressure again. A lot of players talking about how good he can be, how good his performance is, but one thing we do have to highlight, with Chachi getting back to lane, he's got himself a 13 CS lead over MYM. Vardag's even on CS with Mr. Rolls, but he's pushing the wave past the river. So no longer really freezing on his side of the territory.
Yeah, he's definitely using the push and then the poke from the Rumble, trying to deny him CS. Rumble's getting a lot of experience though. Yeah, I think UOL is definitely benefiting from those couple of creeps they caught early. It allows them to be slightly tankier and then have the two-man farm squad with the Saplings plus Pool coming out of Morgana and Maokai. Yes, they push the lane, but they don't really care, you know, because they're defending the tower when they're pushing anyways. I need to see some utility coming out of this Caitlyn. I want to see some towers getting sieged or taken down. However, UOL is fine taking this to the later stages of the game because they have such insane siege poke. Once they start grouping, it's going to get ugly, yeah, if they manage to land those skill shots.
Well, interesting back timing from Vardags. He picks up boots and a pickaxe. Mr. All sitting on 56 CS, has the money to get the BF sword. So if it comes down to the trading and the burst, plus the Janna shield, there's a lot more burst that can come out from this Graves. I want to see how Vardags plays this lane. He's not pushed towers, like you were talking about, like you were maybe thinking. This time around, he's not going to really have the damage.
No, he's not going to push in Graves Janna, not with that item disadvantage. For everybody you out there watching, if you want to gauge whether somebody's going to pick up a BF sword, that's 55 CS if it's a quick farmer. If it's a slow game, it gets a little less CS because you get more global gold. But if you see a lane swap situation, 55 CS is what you want to look for, and then bang on, 56 CS goes to base, buys BF sword and the potion, and comes back. And even though the Caitlyn based on like 50 CS, boots pickaxe. Kind of don't agree with that base timing.
So the question then for the Unicorns of Love, considering Vardags froze the lane and did not push that top tower, and you've got the pickaxe, what is the decision for Unicorns? Do they want to just keep extending this lane out? Do they want to get Nidalee and Kog'Maw to a power position?
I guess they want to just give the freeze over to Vizichachi, have him get him a safe lane where he can farm, keep that good advantage up at least, and then swap more members back to the bottom side of the map so they don't lose dragons. Could be a possible rationale. Maybe he was scared of getting ganked, his vision ran out, he just wanted to base for safety. There's a multitude of reasons here, but Vizichachi definitely strong enough to hold his own against MYM's Rumble here. We see favorable trade coming in. UOL definitely seem... They're making the first step right now, so they're definitely in control of this game.
So, well played by Unicorns of Love. They were the ones that initiated that lane swap, remember? And they were the ones that got Vizichachi into lane because Mr. Rolls did not push it. Kikis steals away the crab there, I believe. It is in favor of the Unicorns. Take a look at the CS. Even mid and AD carry. Slight advantage.
We got that one.
Because Vizichachi, Kikis is taking a page out of Diamond's book, and he's starting off this jungle Nidalee with a few steals.
And this is all they need to do. They just need to bide their time because Kog'Maw scales incredibly slowly, but once he hits his power spike, that's when they actually start grouping. And UOL is basically spreading out right now, and eventually they'll close the trap, you know, and they'll all come together and start taking those down those towers and force even equalizers to be used as wave clear later on. Vardags, he's having troubles though. Graves is an 80 spellcaster. Combine that with the Janna shielded bonus 80. Combine that with a quick BF sword. That means an auto Q auto combo deals a whole lot of damage. Morgana can't protect him. Black shield, it's pure physical damage. They need to land bindings, but even then Caitlyn's follow-up all-in isn't that strong.
Oh, Dark Binding connects. Hylissang's in trouble. Hylissang is dead. Krepo, as if by design, Mr. Rolls demonstrates how powerful a BF sword is.
Yeah, and at the same time, like, they weren't even close to killing Nispeth there. He still has Monsoon, he still has Flash, even if Vardags landed a trap. I think a slight overreach from Hylissang there. And this is the nature of the lane. If you don't AFK, push, shove, poke tower in the first 6 levels as Caitlyn Morgana, and you don't get equal items, you have to whittle down your enemies, and it doesn't happen. If you go for an all-in situation, Graves Janna's going to win out.
Well, Graves Janna did win out.
Pretty
Got themselves an assist on the board for Horo as well. Not necessarily ganking, but he's on the board at the very least. 36 CS to the 43 of Kikis. Keep in mind that Kikis stole away that previous red buff. And starting off relatively powerfully. Vision denied. Kikis trying to set up now for MYM. Let's see if they can make this play work. MYM does not have Equalizer. It's just about to come off cooldown. Trap gets avoided.
I think he's gone.
Here's the spear. It comes up. Equalizer goes forward. MYM is going to get dropped down eventually. 200 hit points. And the Vengeful Maelstrom picks it up. Unicorns reply on the board. It's not over yet. Horo's looking for Vardags. No Tempest, no Cripple, but he gets the flash.
Yeah, I've a lot of sympathy for Horror here. He seems to be gets put in these situations where it's really hard to play as champions. If we dial back to that Olaf game he played, he really had almost no openings, and at least in here, he has a hard time ganking the Maokai. It's probably not going to work. He's never going to get behind Kog'Maw because Kog'Maw's almost playing behind his own tower. And then bottom lane, you got to get behind a max range Caitlyn and a Black Shield to really kick somebody in the lane and get a gank off. It's incredibly hard, and Horror's having issues with time here because he's going to get outscaled.
Well, we'll see how that works out. 200 gold separates these teams. You've touched on scaling. It actually became very, very relevant in the Fnatic matchup. Arguably part of the reason they could stay into it. We'll get back to that thought in a second. Kikis is being baited forward. Power of Evil's on the sideline. Let's see what Unicorns can do. They've got no vision. Ace in the hole catches Corey. This is going to get explosive. Power of Evil gets kicked backwards as Horo's trying to find a target. Kog'Maw gets blown up as Horo flashes over the wall. Now Corey's on the full retreat. Kikis is chasing. He's got red buff. He eats a charm, but he pounces in. He manages to get the takedown. Now onto Nisbet. Red buff ticking. Follows it up for a double kill. Ends up being a 1-for-2 trades.
And you see MYM springs the trap spring the trap on the Kog'Maw that is immobile, but they don't have any hard CC to lock him down, and it takes too long, and UOL get counter damage, get counter poke, and MYM ran out of fire really quickly there, and they get turned on, and this is not a good sign for them, because if you get your engage an inch away from a Kog'Maw, you should get blown up, and because later in the game, you're not going to get that close to them anymore. This was definitely really good patience by MYM. Really nice to see them wait that long, but yeah, too little.
It's exactly what I was about to highlight. They had 3 members with the ability to pounce on to Power of Evil's Kog'Maw, and they couldn't blow him up. In actual fact, Horo's kick got him away from the rest of the Unicorns members. So, small misplay from MeetYourMakers, quite reminiscent of their failed tower dive yesterday. Keep in mind they've lost Dragon, but they did secure the top tower. So, global gold at least staying a little bit in their favor.
Yeah, the game's still even. There's only 1 Dragon difference, so, but the argument of time is on the hands of UOL here, so let's see how they play this out. Let's see how passive they're going to play this game, how much time they think they need before they actually start grouping up and sieging towers.
So that's an interesting question. MeetYourMakers, they don't have the strongest of wave clear. Ari's good, Graves are good, relatively short range. Equalizer's fantastic, of course. When Unicorns of Love start sieging up, there's not a lot of hard CC to lock them down. So in theory, Unicorns, with the public opinion, and the tools, they should be able to siege towers relatively effectively.
I mean, let's play out this siege in our heads, really. What can stop Morgana from walking up, Nidalee from spearing? Ahri Charm. What can stop the Ahri Charm? A good Black Shield. So in essence, unless the Ahri Charm is blind, a good Black Shield from Hylissang will negate any chance that MYM has of catching, so they need Horo to flank. But unlike Rengar on Reignover, he's going to be in full vision if UOL wards their flanks, and we've seen that Hylissang is pretty decent at doing that because he plays champions like Thresh and Morgana a lot.
Well, Hylissang manages to land that Dark Binding on Nisbet, and we'll see how well they ward up their flanks. You can see Kikis setting up towards this middle lane. Actual role reversals. Unicorns of Love now holding positions in the river, where MYM were a moment or two ago.
I feel sorry for Nisbet because he's stuck on Janna, but it seems incredibly hard to play this champion into this lineup because Monsoon is essentially useless because you will not disengage any of those champions unless you knock the support Morgana out of her ultimate, and then she's basically becoming a shield bot really, and then a heal for potential like nullifying some poke. But it definitely, they're missing a component. Imagine if that was a Thresh, you know, immediately that sieging from UOL will become a lot harder. There's more catch potential. You know, one hook followed up by a Rumble ultimate, and suddenly, you know, you start catching them out. But they definitely lack the catch, and let's see if they, they're going to play for it.
So take a look at the vision. Both above and below the middle lane, Unicorns of Love have wards. They're sieging up the tower, and they're going to get it down to a few hundred hit points. Actually, so much damage. Ace in the hole not available. So Vardag's not going to be able to go for that killing blow.
You were absolutely right there, Quickshot. Look at it. He's forced to use his buckshot and his ultimate to clean that wave. And even then, they're overextended in a position where they get punished. Good job, though, by MYM. They get the tower in the bot lane. Corey forced out Power of Evil here, and they pick up a turret.
So let's see. They should end up trading 1-for-1. What more do Unicorns want, or what more can they take? Teleport not available for Vizicachi. Keep that in mind. Timer is down, and Unicorns instead focusing on this top lane.
Yeah, they're basically making an obvious rotation to force Rumble away, to say like, okay, I don't care if you know, I just want that tower down. You know, you can walk away, we'll let you live, we'll catch you another time, but we're gonna get this tower. And a lot of weight right now is on Corey. He has to play the side lanes while his team somehow managed to survive, and he's put on a timer. He has only as much time as it takes for UOL to take down a tower to assassinate somebody on a side lane, because grouping will not help him.
Well, let's take a look at this. Unicorns of Love, 4 members up in the top lane. Equalizer from MYM just to clear the wave. Charm goes wide. MYM is down and Kikis pounces away. Unicorns on the inner turret, MYM on the middle turret.
This was almost the best case scenario for MYM. Racing tower for tower is okay, but then Kog'Maw walks in and his E plus R combos are enough to clean that entire wave, and it forces MYM to back off and try and hold that tier 2 tower. But you see the power of chain projectiles, you know, and it makes it a lot easier. You know, it's target practice almost when Maokai uses W, then the spears and the binds are really easy, so they only need one Maokai Twisted Advance or one Dark Banding from Morgana to connect, and they can layer on the CC one after the other.
And all that damage coming out from the Caitlyn. Eventually, once Power of Evil joins the fight, we're going to see all of that burst from javelins, from all of the range. So we do see Unicorns of Love slowly pulling ahead. 700 gold. They're down on towers. It is 2 versus 3. But their comp still scaling, still growing. That ticking time bomb you keep talking about.
Yeah, UOL just has to plan ahead though. If they ever get caught out or flanked, they have the risk of getting immediately blown up. So they want to already start warding for this dragon that's coming up in 1 minute and 20 seconds. It seems very far away, but if you want to play the vision game correct, depending on what composition you have, you know, if you have a blitzkrieg comp, you don't really care about vision. You can walk in with a poke siege comp. You want that vision nice and early. You want to punish people trying to contest your vision, and ideally you want your pink wards in the brush and not outside of them.
Now we need to see how MYM play around the Dragon Pits. Despite the power that Graves and Rumble can offer, if they're on an objective and they take some of those range skill shots, all of a sudden the risk of dying goes up a whole lot. Unicorns of Love, they're looking for Horo.
Yeah, they got the deep vision in the jungle. This basically isolates the tier 1 tower on the bot lane. Again, they don't care that they're spotted. They're like, walk away. I'm just going to take your tower, then I'm going to rotate back into Dragon. MYM are backed up from the top lane, so there's no additional pressure on their tier 2 towers. And now they can decide, do we siege a tier 2 at risk of being flanked, or do you go back to the Dragon?
Well, with all of the vision in the red buff area of MYM, the decision for Unicorns has been to go for the inner turret. Look at your mini-map. MeetYourMakers trying to come into play. Collateral damage is down. It did not put a lot of pain. The charm doesn't connect, and Corey's in retreat. That was a wasted Spirit Rush, and that flank definitely not effective.
And now they're even zoned out of their base, so they're at risk of losing a tier 3 tower. At any given point, UOL can back off and go for that dragon that's spawning in exactly 2 seconds from now.
Well, let's see what they can do. Ace in the hole comes out, Living Artillery connects. Mr. Riles forced out of the fight. The Equalizer setting a back line for the Unicorns of Love. They've started to peel away. Tower is not down. Power of Evil takes some turret shots before he's forced to retreat. MYM is going to be the first one. That's a massive shot from Vardax as Hillisang is using the Soul Shackles to zone MeetYourMakers away. Piltover Peacemaker after Living Artillery forces Corey to flash. 1 for 1, Unicorn still on the tower.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight how well Vizichachi played that fight. If we get a replay later, I want you to watch what he does, what his position is, and what his zone control does for his team, and how UOL actually even overstayed ever so slightly.
So, Unicorns of Love are going to peel backwards. They're going to be able to get the dragon. They got 3 towers from
Absolutely
that previous
insane
push. They should be able to secure the dragon relatively uncontested. And hopefully we will catch a replay of that bottom lane fight. Unicorns now with a noticeable lead. 2 dragons, 4,000 gold.
MYM are TP'd in though. They're trying to clean up the crew before they buy their items because they're going to get absolutely even much stronger.
Well, they're not going to be able to do too much. They should be able to get some pressure on this middle lane, but truthfully, it's going to be too little too late. Here's this fight.
So basically engaged, Vizichachi pops his ulti and stays in front until his team leaves the base. I think Hillisang gets a little over-eager, trying to protect Power of Evil here with the Flash Blader, but Hillisang is the, Vizichachi's the front line. They take down MYM, they could disengage. They go for the absolute win, you know. They want the victory here already, but definitely he's such a sturdy frontliner, and that's what you need in a poke siege comp. You need that one guy that can stay and take the hits, walk into the skill shots, and defend your really squishy, you know, sniper backline, and just evacuate them.
Well, it worked. Power of Evil had that black shield on, and he managed to get out cleanly. Javelin toss just wide of Nisbet, and Unicorns, you know, really demonstrating a great level of team play and communication, because they really executed the invade, the kite. That whole pressure on the bottom lane was just great decision making.
Yeah, they had one moment where it came down to outplaying each other when MYM flanked them, but MYM did not synchronize their Equalizer with Spirit Rush, with Charm, and once that double threat's like only one of the shots is used, that immediately makes it so much easier for UOL to play. They were at risk of getting flanked if MYM used all their spells immediately, but they didn't. And yeah, props to all the people on UOL for landing their binding. Like Hillisang's Morgana is pretty impressive. He lands a lot of bindings. His hooks on Thresh are really impressive as well. So let's see if MYM can claw back into this game.
Well, going to be very difficult. They are 3,000 gold down. It's 20 minutes on the clock. Mr. Ral's actually taking the hit with the dash, and you see Unicorn securing the tower. Quick draws into that shot. Mr. Ral's backs away. Again, low. Unicorn sieging up. We're 20 minutes into the game. They're onto their second inhibitor turret, and all of that poke is just oppressive.
Yeah, and the problem is they need Ahri to flank around, and they need Lee Sin to flank around, but they need Ahri in the mid for the wave clear. At the same time, they need to dodge spears, bindings, pilt over peacemakers, Caitlyn ultimate, like everything they need to dodge, and somehow clear that wave. Look at Rawls, he steps forwards to box the wave, but it's one after the other. Beautiful bind by Hylissang, and they're suffering right now. And they're rotating down bottom. It's an open inhibitor. There's not even power to save them. This is getting really hard for MYM.
Mr. Ralls needs to go back to tap dance school and learn how to do a two-step because he simply cannot afford eating those skill
like
shots.
A 4-step almost.
A 400 step,
needs
right.
to dodge everything. Here they go.
Equalizer is out. Kikis gets a black shield popped. He is down. Collateral damage. You don't need to dance when you got a shotgun. We do see MYM out in the background. Chachi still on the front line as the inhibitor will get secured by the Unicorns of Love. They've lost one. Hashtag word.
Yeah, and they use the charm. Here's Spiral Reveal going in and kills Corey.
Corey is out. Caustic Spittle plus Living Artillery. It's not over yet as Vizichachi keeps Horo in place. Unicorns are looking for more targets. They lost Javelins, but they've still got everything else to throw at MYM.
And they even land the one targeted CC that they have. It's the charm to take down one guy, but they lose the rest of the fight. And you see they're running out of steam. They're running out of crowd control. They're running out of damage.
They're running out of time. MeetYourMakers simply have not had the laning phase that they needed to, and Power of Evil has got that Archangel's completed. Infinity Edge almost Phantom Dancer for Fardags. Here's the replay.
Yeah, you see just how tanky Vizichachi is. He doesn't have to care at all. He can just go in anywhere. I think we found your answer, Quickshot, to your question. Why did he go back top? He just wanted the soul lane. You know, he wanted more experience, more items. He wanted to get tanky, and he's like, just come on, hit me. Hit me one more time, guys, because I'm just going to take all your skill shots while my team just absolutely tears you apart.
Well, let's see what Hylissang can do. Nisbet and Horo jumping onto him. He can die. Horo with at least a...
I know how that feels.
Small play.
Just one more ward. One more before we base. Just a little more vision, and then suddenly Listen's cake goes through your back shield. But didn't burn his flash. Didn't matter really too much. They're not losing any objectives. They're not really losing any crucial vision. His wards are still down. He's going to walk out of the base, start the vision game again, and UOL can start sieging again.
Well, they've got all the tools available. Needlessly large rod now picked up for Power of Evil. Again, looking to spam. Again, looking to control the range. Top wave pushing in the Unicorn's favor as Super Minions in the bottom lane. Still fairly early for Baron. There's not a lot of armor. There's actually not a lot of armor at all on the side of Unicorns. So.
It is early enough for Delusion of Baron though, and that's enough, you know. One spear, one bind, one punished face check. They only have one blue trinket on MYM's side to stop them. They still have a tier 2 tower to play around with. You saw Corey initiate the split push, but he has the base. They need him at this tower. Well,
take a look at how difficult it is for MeetYourMakers to clear that wave. 1.5, 2 waves worth of minions, and Unicorns of Love take off about a third of that turret's HP.
Look at your minimap right now. Oracle's picked up by Hylissang. He absolutely only cares about the flank vision. That's his job. Launching binds, placing black shields, getting vision on the flank, and denying any potential vision for MYM. So everybody's locked into a 5v5 under this tower, and look what's happening.
So much damage. Kickers hanging out on the side, throwing those javelins. You contrast the wave clear from MYM in comparison to Fnatic in the last game. MYM just cannot sit at the towers.
And look what Horo's doing. He's trying to flank. I see 1 ward, 2 ward, 3 wards, 4 wards, and he's absolutely spotted. You know, unless you're a blind monk yourself, you're definitely going to see him coming.
Unicorns are definitely not blind monks this game, and they're punishing Horo's blind monk. Equalizer goes out. They put some damage under Power of Evil. Chachi is falling back. You can see that Vengeful Maelstrom reducing the collateral damage, and the damage in reply is better from Unicorns of Love. Monsoon used just for the sustain, and the siege is on.
Collateral damage and Equalizer are gone. This means they have nothing left. They just only have their basic spells. They don't have any ultimates left, and full HP. UOL squad right here. The tier 2 tower is going down. Look at your little box in the bottom of the camera there. That's going down. And the Nexus tower, they can turn to Baron. UOL in complete control of this game.
Yeah, 25 minutes. They've got a Nexus turret shortly about to fall. Unicorn 5-man siege squad in the top lane. This is the artillery sniper composition. They got themselves a 4,000 gold lead, and they're knocking on MYM's door.
Yeah, and I just have to commend them for their patience, because it's a fine line you're dancing between overreaching to get caught, and underreaching to not get enough towers in enough time and getting potentially engaged on. And they're definitely dancing that line very well, and they're using, like, they're landing their spells, you know, bindings are landing, spears are landing. Again, another bind from Hylissang connected, they're following up, and
Corey takes so much damage. Ace in the hole wasn't available. Chachi was tanking up the laser for a while, but Corey manages to get away thanks to the Spur Rush. Now Horo, he's looking for kickers. He wants to find a kill. He eats a dark binding. Now Unicorns of Love are trying to set up. Hylissang has thrown the Soul Shackles out. He's in reply. Take a look at the super minions. They're back on the Nexus turrets. Nobody goes down, but the damage is being done.
UOL's a team. Vardex steps in and gets that second harpoon. You're not gonna kill my support for the 4th time. We're getting him out of here. You know, we're backing off, going back to the base, healing, and yeah, MYM's running out of stuff for UOL to take. They might actually have to just turn around and start looking at neutral objectives like Dragon, like the Baron, and then clean up the base.
Well, Unicorns of Love have also earned themselves a fair amount of money over the last few minutes. 1,000 gold for Power of Evil to spend. Vardex just finishes off his Phantom Dancer as well. It's all different, sizable. Look at that top lane. You know, over to, you know, what's a 1,500, 1,600 gold. Now that is scary difficult. However, Mr. Rolls has got himself a nice CS advantage, hence the lead. But the waves have always been pushing into him, and his collateral damage is the only wave.
Yeah, I tried highlighting that when we saw the Forgiven replay in the other game. You know, if you're using your buckshot and your abilities on waves on the minions and not the enemies, it doesn't matter how fed you are because you're not gonna kill them. You know, if your duty is wave clear, then you're wasting your advantage. But there's no other option for him. So UOL is playing this annoying game that reminds me of back in the time of CLG EU, where you leave your opponents no other option than to roll over and die, and it's extremely satisfying for me to watch. Incredibly boring for the crowd, but I'm loving it.
Not at all. Unicorns of Love demonstrating they can land skill shot after skill shot, and every time they do, someone from MeetYourMakers is shut down. It's just great control. You know, Unicorns, it's a patient, it's a focused team comp, and they're making it work.
And like MYM, they don't have time to move your minions. You know, you can't even get them out of the base because every time you start pushing, this 5-man death squad is knocking on one of the like inhibitors or the turrets, and there's no side lane pushes, there's no counter objectives because they're squeezed out of vision and they're stuck in their base. And then once they have to group up, it's basically dodging less, you know. And yeah, they hope they work dodgeball up because that's what they need right now. And even right now, once they're forced back by the spells coming out of UOL, and they're just losing their inhibitor.
Well, let's see. Dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge again. MeetYourMakers are trying, but they are failing. You can't dodge an ace in the hole, but MYM can eat it. We do see Vardex goes out as Mr. Ralls puts another kill on the board. That's a 2 without reply. MeetYourMakers, they do manage to survive and surprise Unicorns of Love.
And this is exactly how you beat a poke comp. You just pull the trigger, you go all in. This is what I want to see Elements do the other game as well. Just use all your abilities at once. Try to blow up your enemies because they have skill shots coming in every couple of seconds, but it's not enough. You know, once those cooldowns are down, they actually don't have much disengage. And I really want to give props to MYM. That was a beautiful play. That was really good play, crawling back to this game the way they did right here.
So a small glimmer of hope for MeetYourMakers. They claw the gold lead back. Talk us through exactly how MYM could punish Unicorns.
Equalizer is really important. It slows them down. Corey goes in, he draws the aggro, but then they can't finish him off because they would stand on the Equalizer if they do so. Hylissang's busy with Horo on the side. He's in full vision, but it doesn't matter. Mimer blocks the ace in the hole, and he manages to flash out right at the last moment. So everybody uses as much damage as they can, and look who's untouched. In the middle of all that, Rallas, the 80 spellcaster that can finally use his spells on enemies instead of minions. And this is really smart play by MYM. They just need to use everything at once, leave no room for counterplay. You can survive one bind, you can survive one spear, you can survive maybe a couple pokes from Kog'Maw, and in that time frame, you really have to annihilate your opposition because the longer the fight lasts, the more poke you eat.
So the big difference between that last bottom lane fight and the inhibitor fight, MYM as a team, as a unit, committing together, and that's what made it work for them. We need to see if they can find that again. They've got their spells up. They also got a lot of farm, a lot of gold. It's still only 2,500 that separates.
Yeah, it shows that they're adapting though. Remember, go back to that flank we were discussing earlier. They spread out their damage. That's why it failed. They learned. Now they used everything together. They said, okay guys, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Let's just try and screw them over. And it worked for them. But now they're fighting for vision. Let's see if UOL takes a little more soul approach, a little more wards, a little more poke before they start hitting objectives. But eventually, you can build up against poke though. You can get tanky enough that poke doesn't matter that much anymore. And that's where MYM can actually still come back in this game.
And very important to note that Mr. Rolls picked himself up that Quicksilver Sash. You can also see Mikhail's Crucible on the side of Nisbet. So got some tools to play with. MeetYourMakers, they're actually pushing out the waves. We caught in the picture-in-picture a moment ago. They were knocking on the middle inner turret. They pushed top lane a couple of times. you know, MeetYourMakers, they're happy. Corey, Hourglass is away from some of the damage. Let's see if he can survive. Spirit rushes back. Can he continue running for his life? Living Artillery in the side lane. Vizichachi looking for an engage. Can he find someone?
Good side
The answer is no.
Yeah, this is definitely the risk. You know, one bind is all it takes for you to get blown up. But as long as you don't lose your tower from it, you can go heal and then just try again. And really, we need to look at Corey and we need to look at MYM right now. Can they synergize their abilities to just immediately blow one target up?
Well, there's no Corey yet. He's still healing on the fountain. 50% of the tower is down. MYM did eat a Dark Binding. He's lost 50% of his hit points. Hourglass is available. Now the inhibitor's being focused. Corey's going to rejoin. Oro on the side lanes. Let's see where the equalizer comes out. Unicorns lost the last fight that started this way, but they seem to have slightly more control and more options in the middle lane.
They really want to wait for that Spirit Rush. That's exactly what they need. And UOL knows that, so they really want that inhibitor before they get caught again.
So, going to be able to secure this one. Horo's backed off into his base. Spirit Rush is shortly available. And you can see that MYM is holding onto his equalizer as well. Unicorns, they're going to play with fire if they go into this bottom lane.
I would like to see an Aegis on the side of MYM though. They really need more magic resistance, but Hylissang is landing bind after bind, and again on Valas, forcing the QSS and the counter Rumble ulti.
Equalizer is out, Vardex gets kicked to safety. Horo's on the front line. We do see Unicorns of Love losing two more. Mr. Earls and Corey untouched in that fight. They continue to push forward, and Unicorns again lose 2 members on the bottom lane. There is super minions pouring into the middle. Let's see what Chachi can do. The spear gets dodged thanks to the Hourglass. Teleport coming up from MYM, he cancels it to get the cooldown, and Unicorns losing team fights.
And while we were maybe talking about the Aegis being a better pickup, all the other itemization is so smart. Against the Pokemon, once you get caught, you want them to overreach for you. How do you do that? Zonias and QSS. Wallace gets hit by a bind, immediately QSS is out, people overreach. MYM reads that situation perfectly, and he does the counter engage with Equalizer. Here it's coming again. Look at that bind. Hylissang yet again, another one, but instant QSS. People get caught off guard. Look at that Equalizer. Everybody is forced to flash. The threat of Oro as well. And now look at the bottom, what Wallace and Corey do to UOL right now.
So much damage onto Vardex and Hylissang. Because again, all of those spells are stacked up. Crepo, it's what you were saying MeetYourMakers need to do. They are threading a very fine needle, because they've now got super minions in the middle lane, but they are winning team fights. They are showing when Unicorns are sieging, it's not as safe as it was in the opening 20 minutes.
Yeah, Pokecoms have a timer on them, because eventually people get too tanky and you get caught too easily. So I definitely want to say props to MYM. You know, they defended for quite a long time. They didn't lose an inhibitor, and that's really important, because then the split pushing can be played into objectives around Baron. Look at their wards as well. They don't really care about that 4th dragon that's gone down. They start having to care about 5th dragon, but even then, what's really important is this dragon, because this Baron rather, because that's when split push becomes even easier. Kikis, he can peel off and start pushing in side lanes and split MYM up, and MYM needs all their members together to basically wombo all in UOL.
Well, MYM has no teleport available. He's just recalled. Inhibitor may be down before he can actually join this fight. Unicorns, they've peeled away. Inhibitor on the bottom lane down to a few hundred hit points, but they're still really sticking around.
For both teams, really, UOL can get absolutely obliterated yet again, but if they get this inhibitor, they can basically start rotating around the map and get that Baron, and they can close out the game. Really important.
So all of the damage onto Horo, he's not going to be able to flank like he's been able to. A couple more auto attacks. Kikis moves into range. Vardex takes it down. Super minions just in from the middle lane, and now they'll be pouring in from the bottom lane. Do Unicorn siege top, or do they think Baron?
It's tricky to say. I imagine they go for Baron and 5th dragon, but look, while they're on a timer and their poke is becoming less efficient, they have 4 dragons and they have the means to clean out the entire Baron pit worth of vision. And then it gets even harder for MYM, because they have to face check into spears, binds, and worst case Vizichachi just volunteers and just CCs them for a while until they get the Baron. However, they have a pretty slow Baron, I would recommend. Nah, they have actually a pretty decent Baron. Caitlyn's pretty quick at it, Kog'Maw's pretty quick at it, and so is Nidalee.
Well, we'll see what they decide to do. Hylissang just moved forward. Dark Binding sidestep by
MYM. The fight though, Equalizer could be great here. They're zoned out actually. Really smart play by MYM. They're zoning them to the left. If you want to fight us, you have to come through a chokehold, choke point rather, on an Equalizer.
So we'll see what Unicorns do. Chachi thinking about going through. There's a little bit of wave clear. Luckily, Power of Evil has got extensive range on that Living Artillery, which means MYM, despite their good positioning, are unable to get damage in the tower. And look at the minimap. Super minions and regular minions making their way closer and closer to MeetYourMakers base. And Hylissang, he's caught out. Black Shield will keep him alive a few seconds longer. He does manage to survive. Dark Binding does not connect, and Hylissang barely escapes with his life.
Very vital engaged by MYM because the Unicorns lose the pressure here, and this allows MYM to go down and deal with that bot lane. Imagine if they wouldn't get caught there, they just hold on for a couple more seconds, suddenly they can translate their pressure into a Baron bait because MYM is forced to move all the way down. This basically, that push and this move relieves all the pressure, resets the situations, and they didn't do that once or twice. You can see the lines on the inhibitor indicating when it respawns. If that line goes all the way around, that inhibitor will respawn, and then we're back at square one.
So we'll see if MYM can reset the clock. They've dug deep again and again and again. And they are still even on gold. 35 minutes in, this sieging, poking, sniping, artillerying comp from Unicorns Love is slowing down. It's not had the same impact, but now it's Unicorns that may have position, but they don't have minions to play with.
That's fine. They're basically telling MYM, guys, we're here already. Don't go mid, don't race us, because you're going to lose your third inhibitor and the game at the same time. So they're pushing them back into their base, and once they're enclosing that base, they can sweep all the wards on their way out, and then you have multiple layers of dark vision behind each other that the MYM is forced to face check if it comes up for a Baron bait.
So Unicorns of Love thinking a few steps ahead, using vision of their own champions to pull MYM. Horo again looking for the flank. He's got himself that Banshee's Veil along with his Hex Drinker and Sidestone. Not the tankiest of champions, but he's shown that he can get the kicks down when he needs to. 3-1 and 3.
He's having issues flanking a lot, and that's really props to Hylissang for warding his flanks and telling the rest of his team where to ward exactly. You see that layer of Caitlyn traps? That's an additional zone they have. Nidalee traps. They're basically making it so MYM gets punished if they ever engage, and they want to catch him off. Here's Corey.
Corey gets a charm down into Vardex. Collateral is out. Vardex is down. Now Maima looking to Vizichachi. He's got the assistance of Horo. There's not a lot of mana left onto Kikis as we see Vizichachi hit backwards. Another 2 kills for MeetYourMakers, and Corey's been able to wave clear against the Nexus turrets. They've defended. Those inhibs will be up in the not too distant future.
The stones.
And MYM have reset.
Corey, Spirit Rush into Charm Flash when the enemy team has a Black Shield available to themselves, still landing it, forcing the AD carry to get blown up. 2 kills for MYM. This was an absolutely insane play, and I can't stress enough how important it was, because one more minute of this siege, the wards would have faded out, and they had to face like 3 layers of wards pretty much to get to the Baron and possibly even lose it. And now they might even pick up the Baron themselves.
Well, they've started this one off. Kikis is close by, as is Power of Evil and Hylissang. Baron's going fairly low, as is Horo. We do see those javelins going wide.
Fish in the barrel now, though.
Kikis is trying to get in range. This is, like you said, fish in a very small barrel. Mr. Rawls continues to hit it down. Kikis looking to set in.
To steal it.
The pounce is available. The smite is up. It's not going to get taken. Javelin connects onto Horo, but Kikis is forced away. Now Chachi's jumped into the fight. Hourglass is up. Vardex has joined. The Javelin connects, as does the Piltover Peacemaker. Flash away from Mr. Rawls. Living artillery after living artillery is coming down. Unicorns, they lose Baron. They gain a kill and potentially objectives. They're now pushing, knocking onto MeetYourMakers' door. Where are the minions? Vardex is pushing in the top lane.
I think this is really, they're asking for a lot here. They want to backdoor that tower, but if they get that, all the inhibitors are exposed. They could be good for both teams here, depending on how they play it.
Well, we need to see how Unicorns can play this one out. Horo is looking. Equalizer comes out. Now Unicorns in full retreat. Vizichachi is on the front line. He's keeping Horo down. The rest of the Unicorns are focusing him out. One more artillery from downtown. Power of Evil gets the kill. They've exposed the inhib, but the bottom lane has just respawned. There's no more supers.
I think a little more patience on the Unicorn side would have been better. Look at Corey. He's spawning 5 seconds from now. That means they had the time to let that wave power on a little more. You know, bait the trigger on the MYM. But again, good timing on that equalizer. Good follow-up from Mr. Wallace. Even if they lost Horo, it doesn't matter because they equalize the situation. We got to look at that dragon, though. This is 5th dragon for UOL. At the same time, 1st dragon for MYM. There's no bigger discrepancy compared to who gets and who loses dragon here.
And at 40 minutes on the clock, that 6% AD and AP is actually now relevant.
And denying the 5th buff is even more important. This is an incredibly big difference in opportunity cost when it comes to one team getting the buff and one team losing it.
Crepo, MeetYourMakers are gaining confidence with each and every play, with each and every team fight. Unicorns of Love are unable to knock over those final dominoes in MeetYourMakers base, and we see Mr. Rawls, BT, Ayed, Shiv, Last Whisper, we see Mikhails, we see the makings of a Locket MeetYourMakers have got all of the items they need to deal with the Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, double Zhonya's, you know, that prevents the all-in. The Aegis really there. The Mikhail's on top of the QSS. Hillsing's binds are becoming more useless over time, even if he lands them. It's an incredibly frustrating position for him to be in because he didn't get his Zhonya's himself. He can no longer flash in. It's really hard to itemize Zhonya's into double AP because it's counterintuitive, but it basically means that Hillsing will never in his life land an ultimate, so he's basically reduced to a shield and bind bot. And we saw earlier, Corey is so quick on the trigger that sometimes the Black Shield just arrive too late.
Well, we'll see if he can keep that up for Corey, because as we have to keep pointing out, it's 3 towers to 9. If MeetYourMakers have one misplayed team fight,
it's over.
It's over, and that's the risk that MeetYourMakers have to deal with. They do have Baron-empowered minions for a little while longer. Unicorns are sieging up.
Look at MYM and Horde. They have to start this fight, and then Rawls has to follow up.
Well, Mr. Rawls gets caught up.
Corey's low, though.
Not to use the QSS. Ace in the hole still available. Corey forced away, which means Unicorns of Love securing into him.
And this is incredibly smart by Power Eva because he could be poking anybody on their team, but he goes for Corey because he knows Corey is the essential link in that chain of engage, because every time he has Spirit Rushed in and taken out one guy that was slowed on the Equalizer, and then Rawls followed up, if Corey gets kept down, you see Power Eva, he doesn't care about anybody else. He wants that Ahri dead.
Let's see what Power Evil's aim is like. Can he keep landing the poke? Can he live up to the European sniper legacy Crepo was talking about with regards to Froggen from all those years ago? Inhibitor being knocked on now by Unicorns of Love. Look for the living artillery. Mr. Rawls and Corey going low. Now it's Mr. Rawls that's forced out. Equalizer is decent but not great.
I don't think
MYM is late to the party.
Look at
and
damage,
no one can
though.
react.
So much damage coming out from the Rumble ultimate there, especially due to that Liandis. You know, the afterburn is a lot more than people expect. Good bind, but
does
follow up.
Hourglass. Let's see what happens. Collateral damage in the back line. Nothing's been stacked. It's MYM that's down. Unicorns have a minute.
This is so smart. They land the bind, but they don't commit on it because they know MYM will punish them, and they walk backwards. And we saw the same in Copenhagen Wolves. They kite backwards and bait MYM in overreaching, and now they might actually be able to finish this game.
Hillsong went for the flash bind, did not find a target, but Unicorns do not care. They take another inhibitor and they turn their attention to the top lane, trying to get those double supers in both lanes.
We need one more inhib, then we need a Baron buff, and then we can push in all the lanes at once. And this is a win condition for UOL right now. But they're threading the needle. Needle is out of mana. Spells are coming back up. Spirit Rush on Ahri is halfway. You know, Rawls is incredibly strong, but they got the inhib.
Vardag's able to take that one uncontested. Double super minions across all 3 lanes. Unicorns, they have danced, they've danced, they've danced. It didn't work for a small period of time, but at 42 minutes, this has to be the game-winning play.
And this is the power of this engage, you know. Walk away from that Equalizer. Don't even try, you know. Even if you see a turn opportunity on one champion, don't take it, you know. Don't greed for it, because MYM relies on their ultimates. Land that binding, and you saw Rawls, he pulled the trigger. Corey, he pulled the trigger. But UOL was smart this time. They said, no, okay, we bound you, but we can bind you again later, but you can only use your ultimates once. And that was the definitely fundamental difference. And now we're waiting on the second objectives. We're waiting on Baron, possibly Dragon to close out this game.
Let's see if Unicorns of Love waits as well. 1 minute 50. Vision very scarce across the map. You know, earlier Unicorns had such great vision in MYM's jungle. MeetYourMakers also were able to reply with some decent deep wards. You can see there's some blue wards there around Dragon, though.
It's a symptom of late game, though. Only the supports are left with a Sightstone. Okay, Lee Sin has one, but he can't even leave his base anymore. So it gets harder for UOL. I don't like the lack of just green ward trinkets. I think they should buy those new fancy green ward trinkets that can stack wards in them and just ward up their flanks. Denying vision is not as important because one Oracles can sweep all the vision you need, and having those blue trinkets aren't as important because you can secure the vision with wards. Look at Horde, though. He might have found an opening.
Well, we'll see if he decides to come through the lane. Gonna find some super minions to work with. Again, super minions in top, middle, and bottom. That's 3 of them to deal with.
Just wait 30 more seconds. Wait for that top wave. Please, UOL, just take it patient because you can blow the game here.
Well, we'll see if Unicorns of Love do or do not. Super minions now onto the Nexus touch. Horo is coming in from behind, Crepo.
He's Harengar now. He's no longer Lee Sin.
MYM want the fight. Horo's looking. He's found Kickers. Kickers gets caught out. There's super minions in the middle. Is it enough, though? This is the question. Equalizer goes down. Nobody from MYM is following this one up. There's the flash. MYM has got the Flame Splitter. He throws down the Zhonya's Hourglass, stays alive for a few moments longer. Pulls over Peacemaker, doesn't get the damage it wants as Corey dives in. Super Minions are on those Nexus turrets. Unicorns of Love want MeetYourMakers to fight them. The Nexus turrets are down, both of them. The Super Minions are on the base. It may be too much to ask as the Unicorns are pushing forward. Look for Vardags to start hitting the Nexus. We do see Unicorns backing away. There are so many Super Minions. Mr. Isles has 1,000,000,001 targets to focus. And all the pressure on
so hard to deal with. This might be the game, quick shot.
There's no wave clear left as MYM jumps in. He does get one. It's not enough. After 45 minutes, the Unicorns of Love pick up a win. Took a long time to finish, Crapo.
I actually want to thank all 4 teams involved for giving us 2 completely different style of games, but equally fun to watch and analyze, because there's definitely something to say here.
It's interesting to see Unicorns, they pull out that very heavy siege comp, very heavy poke comp.
Taking a page out of Aframo's book, going with the chilly fist bump, walking around.
But for the Unicorns,
I guess that was bound to happen one day.
oh, that's pretty cool. That is really pretty cool.
Can you even see through one of those masks where you're just extending your hand?
I have no idea. I have no idea. But you know, for the Unicorns, it started well. The first 20 minutes, they were knocking on MYM's inhibitor turrets, but overstepping just a little bit, maybe riding the danger zone just a little too close, and allowing MYM to get those picks.
I like seeing teams adapt in the middle of the game, you know. I really like how UOL learned that they were getting punished for poking a little bit too deep. I liked how MYM learned, okay, we got to flank. You could see the thought process, right? We got to flank. Flank didn't work. How do we do it better? Everything at once. Okay, and then eventually UOL learned, okay, what are we getting punished by? All-in engages. How do we do that? We bait them. Just walk backwards every time. Forward, a little back. Okay, they used one ulti. Forward, a little back. One more ulti. And eventually, you can poke again.
If there's any stat to help signify just how important Power of Evil was to this team, I'm looking at the damage dealt to champions over the course of the game. Power of Evil in his Cogmore has got 43,000 damage dealt to champions, right? 43k. From Kikis, Visitchachi, and Vardags combined, they are below his damage to champions. For contrast, they've all hit about 12, 13k. Over on the other side of MYM, 23k, 29k, 28k. It was all about Power of Evil keeping the champions away, because it was up to Kikis and to Vardags to put the damage onto the towers.
Yeah, there's a beauty to the composition where Voidus comes out and then you just slow them and you have a bind, you have a spear, you have a Kog'Maw ulti, living artillery, everything one after the other. But then it has an innate weakness, which is the all-in counter engage, and MYM found that, you know, they found that, but I think they found it a little bit too late, and it's incredibly hard to play against Pokemon. However, if Unicorns of Love want to run this composition again, the next team will be infinitely more prepared for it, and they will have a lot harder time to deal with it because Pokecoms are incredibly telegraphed.
Yeah, and you have to think the very last pick from MeetYourMakers was a Janna. Had that been a Leona, had that been something that could have gone more aggressive, it could have worked out in their favor, but it simply didn't happen this time.
And I think this is where the failure of recognizing what the enemy's win conditions are and putting a counter to that. Janna does not stop that at all, but the next team that plays them, or even if MYM could do this draft again, I doubt they will pick Janna. They just tunnel vision, they see Graves, okay, they see the Caitlyn and the Morgana, they're thinking, right, okay, how do we beat that, you know, Spellcaster Graves, how do we buff that to go through Black Shield of the Morg? Okay, Janna, really smart idea, you know, Caitlyn outranges me, but it's okay, I can deal with it. I get a shield with Graves dashing in, doing return all-in damage, and you saw it at the bottom lane when Hylissang overstepped, he got blown up. But it's a tunnel vision, and that punished them. And next time, I think MYM will be better prepared.
Yeah, borderline, not seeing past their own nose, as were the case. Unicorns of Love, they pull out a unique team composition, and they pick themselves up a win to end the week. Sharks is joined by one of the Unicorns of Love. It is Vardags at the analyst desk. Let's hand it over to her to take a close look at the win.
Thank you very much, Quick Shot, and congratulations, Vardags. That's a 2-0 week for the Unicorns. Must be good.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's the first week we actually managed to go 2-0. We've always went 1-1 so far, and we actually managed to pick up a win in the second game. So,
tell me your thought process during the pick and ban phase, because I was looking at you guys building up this siege comp, and then seeing MYM again lock in the Janna, take the Rumble as well, and a lot of champions who would basically have a very hard time dealing with you guys and how you could set up the siege. Did you really feel like you won in that pick and ban phase, or? How do you see it?
We felt very strong after pick and ban. I felt like our picks in general were really strong against what they had. So we were really confident, and we practiced a lot of these matchups. So we kind of predicted what they went for. So
Yeah.
it was pretty good.
So you guys did good early, and then you were waiting. You know, when Kog'Maw hits at level 11, that's very good. We know late game he's very good. But then there was this window that MYM managed to fight back in the game, and you got caught a couple of times in there. Tell me how you reset your minds and reevaluated what you had to do.
I think for us, the problem was when we actually got the inhib, they got so much free farm. And for us, we kind of had to think of the next step. We had to calm down. We had to prepare for the next objective. Are we going for 5 dragons? Are we going for towers? How are we setting up the siege with wards? And we just kind of talked together, got a plan, and calmed down.
Yeah, and obviously in the end, you guys managed to win. So a bit of a relief, I guess, after almost having that comeback from MYM. But for you guys now, 2-0 this week. We have H2K doing the exact same. You guys are in the middle of the table. Rocket now is falling down slightly. And you're obviously looking out towards the top. Top of
They're
the
actually
table, yeah.
number 3 now.
Actually number 3, yeah, sorry. Because now Elements is also below you. Did you expect this going into the season, that you were going to be one of the top teams?
I actually expected us to be somewhere in the middle of the table, to be completely honest. But we've been performing pretty well. We had some pretty rough matches, but we're doing pretty well for ourselves right now, so
For sure.
I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, that Caitlyn pick definitely seems to be working out for you when you can put that damage down and push early as well. What would you say for you has been the biggest thing for you personally, or what your bottom lane that you've improved on that you take from this week into the next week?
I think for me and Hilly, we just practice on a daily basis together to get stronger. I think back in the days we got a lot of criticism for our 2v2, so we just practice a lot and try to improve.
And how have you actually noticed the difference now from playing in the Challenger Series with the team and coming into the LCS, facing these new bottom lanes? Do you consider the EU bottom lanes to be very strong, or do you think there's a lot of them you guys can beat easily?
I think there's a lot of strong bot lanes in EU. I think me and Hilly actually improved a lot, so I would actually rate us quite high.
Okay, where do we say? Top 3?
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Don't let me throw you off. Just put it out there. Very interesting seeing the Kog'Maw come out here. We know a lot of people always talk about the Unicorns of Love. They're going to pull out something crazy. How does it work? If there's one person that wants to try something new or something off meta, do you then all go for comfort picks, or how does that work?
Well, for us, when we actually play these kind of off-meta picks, we usually talk about it before and we practice it a lot. So we have our, like, all of the players pretty much, like jungle, top, mid, they have their special kind of picks and we practice it. And those that work, we kind of try and implement them into, like, LCS games.
And I assume, sorry, that you guys are very patient when it comes to actually playing scrims, because you're going to try out all these new picks. Often, I would assume it's going to fail and you have to go back and say, why did this pick work here? In terms of scrimming, how often do you really feel like you just pull out these random things that everyone hates to play against because they have no clue what to do? And how often can you then take it and put it into the LCS?
It's actually quite often because we put a lot of thought behind everything. Like, we don't just think of some weird champion like AD Sire, it's going to work. We usually put a lot of thought behind everything. So most of the stuff that we actually try usually works out to some extent.
Yeah, we have seen that. Finally, I've asked the same question to the guys here yesterday. How has it been for you coming into the LCS? This whole lifestyle, the fans waiting and clapping as you come off the stage, it must be great.
It's really cool. I mean, like, for me personally, coming from being a fan of the LCS, just watching, and now actually playing here, it's really cool to actually be sitting on the stage and playing in front of people.
And eating a lot of pancakes in the gaming house. Of
course.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, 2 in a week for you guys. Great job. Congratulations.
Thanks.
All right, with this week's games wrapped up, let's turn to the table and see how everything has played out. SK Gaming is still sitting comfortably at number 1 as they'll look to tie their current win streak record held by Fnatic next week. Now, speaking of which, Fnatic is still behind them in second, with the Unicorns of Love now in third. And here's where it gets really interesting. The Copenhagen Wolves and H2K have both climbed in the standings to the Elements in the number 4 spot going into week 5 of the split fee show.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone before this split started would have put Elements as a mid-tier team in the LCS with the change. They got it Reckless, of course. We talk about how now they have this superstar AD carry. Not saying Taps was bad at all. He was definitely up there with the Reckless in the last split. But everyone was talking about how now this could be the piece Elements really needed to become a better team. And yet, it simply doesn't work for them. The early game is way too bad, and if they don't really step it up, then again, teams like H2K and Unicorns of Love, they can just keep advancing forward in the standings.
Yeah, if anything, it's just super interesting for us
for
as
sure.
a viewer to check in all that. Now, looking at individual performances, there was one player today who went absolutely mad with 10 kills, 10 assists, a triple kill, and only 2 deaths as Cassiopeia. Today's fantasy point leader is a Copenhagen Wolves' Soren with 41 points. We also got to talk to him here on the desk.
Yeah.
In great spirits on the Snake.
Absolutely love to see him and Freeze be so happy after their win. And I love how Copenhagen also now found a playstyle where we have 2 carries in Soren and Freeze, and we just built everything around them, and we trusted them to carry the late game.
Yeah, let's hope they keep it up. At the end of the 50 players on stage this week, only 5 of them have earned the title of truly OP. The first one we like to point out is actually an entire team, H2K as a team, stepping up 7.9, Team KDA, and just they got their target, they got their early pick, and they drove it home.
Average game time, 30 minutes here. Both the wins were very, very convincingly for H2K. And I really love how the new shot calling seemed to have made them so aggressive and so coordinated after just 1 week with Kasing coming in as the new support. And obviously we know Oduamne loves to make these aggressive calls.
Yeah, good for them as we see them playing out. Then number 2, we can't go without mentioning anyone from SK Gaming. This one for me, it's Freddy122. Just so consistent, and Azir is a nightmare.
Every single game Freddy will perform. Last week he did it against Elements, now he got Azir again. Another standout performance from him. He's so hard to shut down because the guy is so smart as well. He's expecting every single gang towards him. So we saw Copenhagen Wolves try and shut him down. Didn't work. We saw again today. You try to shut down Freddy. Nope, it's not going to happen. He's going to get all the farm he wants.
Yeah, our third OP player this week is Diamond. 603 is Nidalee in an upset over Elements. 2-0 week for Gambit. Just, I want to stay away from saying Diamond is back. He's just, you know, they're all stepping up for his team, and he's being a crucial element for that.
Exactly. He stole a lot of objectives here. We saw the Smite and Spear combination from him, and it was just his performance against Elements, how he was kiting around on this Nidalee here, constantly just being a pain for them to deal with. And in the end, fantastic score, didn't even die.
All right, and then the next one coming in here as our OP this week is Power of Evil, 9-2-8 in 2 games. Fantastic performance on Kog'Maw and on Cassiopeia.
Yeah, Trevor talked about how much damage he did in the last game here, and of course yesterday, solo killing Nuketook. We see it here, punishing him for actually mispositioning, going back to the tower. So Power of Evil has actually turned into one of the better mid laners we have in Europe. There was a lot of expectations coming into the split, and he's really actually shown how good he is.
Yeah, living up to the hype is a hard thing to do, but he absolutely did it. And our last OP pick is also a mid laner, Soren. We have to call him out. And, well, Cassiopeia, he just loves that champion. He does so great on that. I'd love to see what he can bring on the others if the Copenhagen Wolves get those advantages.
Yeah, it's really been his main champion, so it should start to be banned away from Copenhagen Wolves, because every time he plays it, we can see him have so much impact in team fights. Again, his laning phase is great. And this is just his most comfortable champion, to be honest. He said it himself here. He just feels like every single lane matchup, he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, fantastic one. But of those OPs, of our most valuable player coming out of those, carrying the Unicorns of Love with 9 kills and a KDA of 8.5 over 2 games as Cassiopeia and Kog'Maw. It is their mid laner, Power of Evil. Fantastic. Living up to the hype. It is a hard thing to do coming into the LCS. This guy delivered.
Yeah, we just talked about how good he was in the 2 games we've seen this week, and actually close to every single game in this split. He always brings out some new picks. I know he has like 10 different pocket picks ready for whatever counters he needs, so we're going to see more crazy stuff from him. And as long as he can keep playing like he's doing now, Unicorns are going to be at least top 5 in the standings.
Don't worry if you didn't have Soren or Power of Evil on your fantasy theme this week. There is much more time to make a comeback when the European LCS returns next Thursday with an El Clasico matchup. Fnatic against SK Gaming. I am so hyped for that one.
Oh, hell yeah. That's going to be insane. SK undefeated still. Can Fnatic actually break that winning streak? It's going to be the big question.
We will see those matches begin next Thursday right here at 6 p.m. Central European Time. That is 9 a.m. Pacific. Meanwhile, the North American LCS starts its week 4 tomorrow as Team Coast face off Counter Logic Gaming. Dignitas will go up against Cloud9, and to close it out, it's Gravity versus Team Solomid. That all starts at 9 p.m. Central European Time, noon Pacific. Are you excited to see Björksen?
I'm always excited to see Björksen, even though he's American for me now. He's no longer Danish, sadly. I only have Santorin left. But that's got to be enough.
As we look towards the weekend and Valentine's Day, we want to share a little bit of love with you. The Unicorns of Love tweeted, "We must confess, we have a crush on you guys. Will you be our Valentine?" With that stare, I don't think anyone could say no to that.
I'm sold completely.
You're sold.
What a beautiful man.
Well, that you say that to everybody.
No, not everyone. Cyanide has said it to Reckless, I believe. Who else? Just 2 guys.
Power.
Yeah, well, Power View, 3 guys. That's not in.
All right, no,
not many.
nothing. That just about does it for us here in Berlin. We'd like to thank Crepo for lending us a hand on both desks this week. And from myself, the Fisho, and the LCS broadcast team, thank you for watching. GG and good night.
How fast these kills are going. Goodbye, Yanko, Swolite running back to Fountain, staying alive.
What a great week for them.
I think he's going to, gets the dunk off, and meanwhile,
Forgiven as well.
Forgiven. Whoa, my goodness! How did he make the outplay? He's gonna go down, Forgiven! 8 wins on the board. The Baron goes down. Diamond was able to grab it.
Oh,
With Nif. Gambit Gaming, destroy Element.
Go, 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 go. Corky, 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 corky. I get 3 skills there, oh my god. Good job, man. Nice!
The Copenhagen Wolves go huge. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Mitch Crepo Forceballs to the caster desk. You've worked so hard on the analyst desk for so long, we figured we'd give you a shot to casting on the show.
Just couldn't miss me, could you?
No, of course not, of course not. Not after this morning. Power of Evil takes some turret shots before he's forced to retreat. MYM is going to be the first one. That's a massive shot from Vardek. The Unicorns of Love pick up a win.